flags than at the Chinese military parade. And somehow, even though one of the people you talked to, one of his co-workers, 4 times tried to tell people this guy's trouble, and the employers and supervisors says, don't rock the boat. Well, look, the president will rock the boat when it comes to telling states that they have to have transgender restrooms. They'll invade people's privacy like James Rosen when they wiretapped him and his parents. But this is an administration that doesn't want to offend Muslims. They will offend everybody in America except the Muslim population. The question is why? They don't want to prosecute this woman. They prosecuted Whitey Bulger's girlfriend, Catherine Gregg. She just went down for 21 months of prison.
But listen, this is what Comey
is
said.
Stunning.
The Orlando shooter posted his atrocities several times during the massacre on Facebook. He also made 16 phone calls throughout his murder spree. He killed 49 people, as we well know, at that nightclub. This is Risk and Reward. I'm Dierdre Bolton. Governor Mike Huckabee, one of many, saying the Obama administration ignored numerous red flags. Former FBI assistant director says the FBI's hands were tied.
The rules of engagement, what the Bureau is being told about what they can do and what they can't do. They can't go sniffing around anything to do with Muslims. They can't go around to mosques. They can't do things that they would normally do. I'm not talking things that are off the charts. I'm talking about things that normally would be done, but the orders have come down from the White House.
Former FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force officer, Trump campaign advisor Steve Rogers is with me now. Steve, great to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Oh, you're welcome.
So Governor Huckabee saying that the Obama administration ignored numerous red flags. As somebody who knows the FBI, how it works in and out, what is your take?
Let me share this with you, that the FBI is probably the reason why we have not had catastrophic attacks like we've seen lately. But there is a gap. There is an intelligence gap, and it's between the federal law enforcement agencies and local law enforcement. Dierdre, the problem
I'm glad you pointed this out, because we've heard it, but I want it underlined by someone who's an expert.
You're going to hear it because I was also a street cop as well as working with military intelligence at the FBI headquarters. The point is that if in fact the FBI gave Orlando PD intelligence information way before this attack, maybe their manpower problems would have been at least solved to a degree, and the local cops would have known the who, what, when, where, and why. Because
the gun store owner in Orlando said he alerted the FBI, did he not, to a suspicious customer. We're just going to play a quick clip here, and then I want to ask you about it.
He was asking some odd questions on a high grade of bulletproof vest, which at the time was concerning the questions how he was asking it. So we let him know we don't carry it, nor have we ever carried it here. And when he did, he pulled away and got on his cell phone and he was having a conversation with someone of a foreign language. It was concerning, so they had a little meeting and they contacted the authorities on it, that he was suspicious.
So he was suspicious, but yet the FBI is constrained for security purposes, right? They can't go to a local police force and say, listen, we're concerned about this person, right? If it's considered high security, how does it work?
Yes, they could. However, it's always been the case that there's a fear that an investigation will be compromised. In this case, the red flag was there. A guy walking in asking for bulletproof vests, for body armor, for high-powered bullets for high-powered weapon. The fact is that the FBI and federal law enforcement agencies now have to allow local law enforcement to engage in this war on terror. Look, what better than the local cop knows who's living in a neighborhood, what are their movements, when they're going to work, etc. So we have to kind of think out of the box now and fill that gap, and it's really an intelligence and information sharing gap. I wouldn't point and say that the FBI failed us. They work within the constraints that the White House has brought down.
And the burden of responsibility is so heavy on them and on local police as well. So it seems like whatever it is that we need to do to make it easier for those two groups to communicate is the right step, or at least a step in the right
Dierdre, the
direction.
burden of responsibility is on the Obama administration and the Justice Department. They set the rules, they set the guidelines. All the police are doing is abiding by those rules and guidelines. But saying that, it has to change, and maybe Congress has to intervene and change the rules of engagement.
So, Steve, I want to ask you before we let you go, the terrorist was posting on Facebook, which, I mean, it's horrific. The act is horrific in and of itself. On top of it, he was posting live on Facebook. Do tech companies have a role? Because this is a new element to crime fighting and crime prevention, let's say this decade more than ever, right?
Yes, they do. This is a war. This is not a criminal act. This is a war, and these people are enemy combatants. Everyone in this country, including our high-tech corporations, have a responsibility to help defend the American people.
All right. It is great to see you, Steve. Thank you for
You're
your
welcome.
insight. Steve Rogers with me there, former FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force officer. He is now working with the Donald Trump campaign. Well, President Obama